Hello everyone. In today's lecture, we are going to continue our discussion on the topic of databases. Today is going to be a hands-on lecture, so we won't be going through slides for it. Let me show you what you need to download in order to follow along. Go ahead and click on the code link and download the template notebook file. Also download movies.db database file. The template notebook file asks a bunch of questions about the data contained within the movies database. In today's lecture, we are going to answer some of those questions. You can reference the completed notebook file in order to verify your answers for the questions which are not covered as part of today's lecture. There are another pair of files here which are bus notebook file and bus database file. The bus notebook file asks similar questions about the data contained within the bus database. Consider this as a practical worksheet for this particular topic. Go ahead and try to solve the questions inside the bus notebook file. We will be releasing the answers to the questions inside the bus notebook file sometime next week, Tuesday. I've already downloaded the template notebook file and made a copy of it. Let's do a quick recap of all the clauses for SQL queries that we covered as part of the previous lecture. I didn't quite use the term clause. Let me explain what is meant by clause. Whenever you have keywords like where, limit, group by, and things like that within a SQL query, each of those are called as clauses. Let's do a quick recap of what each of these keywords enable us to do. From keyword in SQL enables us to narrow down to a specific table of interest within a database. The select keyword enables us to narrow down specific columns of interest. You can either say star to select all columns, or you can specifically mention column names separated by a comma. Where and limit enable us to select rows. Where enables us to apply a Boolean expression in order to conditionally select some rows, whereas limit just simply limits the number of rows that are returned by a specific query. Where is applying a conditional filtering, whereas limit is just applying general filtering. So it's typically recommended that where should be ordered in your SQL query first, whereas limit should be ordered next. The last keyword that we covered as part of the previous lecture was the group by keyword. That's slightly different from all other SQL clauses that we discussed. That's because all of the rest enable us to narrow down specific data of interest within the databases table, whereas group by enables us to sort the data entries based on a specific column's value. We can either use the ascending sort or the descending sort based on what sort of question we are trying to answer. In today's lecture, we are going to be covering three different topics. The first one is going to be aggregation. We covered a simple example of aggregation as part of the previous lecture. Aggregation can be done using many operations like counting the number of entries within a particular table, or summing up all the values of a table's column, or computing the average of all the values of a table's column. You can also compute things like min and max of all the entries within a column. The second topic that we are going to be covering is something which is called as the group by clause. The group by clause is equivalent to the bucketization that we have been writing so far. The only difference is that our version of bucketization can be really smart. We might be able to add a particular row into multiple buckets, whereas the group by version of bucketization can only allow a single row to be added within one specific bucket. The last keyword that we are going to be discussing as part of today's lecture is something which is called as the having keyword. Once you have been able to bucketize your data based on specific groups, having clause enables you to apply specific filtering condition to those groups. Having is sort of equivalent to where, but at the level of groups instead of at the level of individual rows. Recall that we have been using the SQLite 3 module in order to write our SQL queries. We are also interfacing pandas with SQLite in order to enable us to convert the result of the query into a pandas data frame. Last lecture, we saw multiple examples of databases or database software. We are only going to focus on the SQLite database for the purpose of CS220. But know that once you learn one of the database's SQL syntax, it's very easy for you to switch around to the other softwares. There will be minor differences in terms of the query syntax that you'll be using in other kind of databases. You can explore the code of this particular cell to figure out what it does with the markdown cells over here. I'm not going to really talk about it. Recall that whenever you want to access a database's entries, you'll need to establish a connection to the database. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm capturing the connection object into a variable called C. The very first thing that you would want to do once you establish a connection to your database is to run the select star from SQLite underscore master query. You just need to make sure you memorize this query because this query enables us to see what sort of tables are present within that particular database. Notice that we only have one table within the movies database. That table is also called as movies. Once you figure out the list of tables, you want to be able to take a peek at the data contained within each of those tables by using the select star from movies query. In this particular example, I'm just using the head function in pandas in order to limit the number of rows displayed here to 15 rows. Recall that we'll be using the read underscore SQL function in pandas in order to enable us to execute a particular SQL query. And all SQL queries are going to return data frames, so we are going to be able to use any of the data frame functions that we want to use. We are going to be performing query execution so often that I've written a simple function in order to abstract the whole process. This function takes two arguments. First one is going to be the SQL query itself, and the second one defines the number of rows that we want to display by using the head function call in pandas data frame. Let me go ahead and show you how you can execute this particular function. Recall that you can also mention a query by splitting it across multiple lines. If you do that, you can use the triple double quotations in order to capture the query's content over here. This is not specific to SQL. Any string in Python that spans across multiple lines needs to be defined inside triple double quotation. So you can try defining a regular string also using this format. So I'm just going to use the query function to run the same query, which is select star from movies. The default argument for the head function call over here is 10 rows, so that's what we are seeing over here. Once you get a dump of the initial set of rows within a table, you can look at all the columns that are present within that particular table and also poke around the values of those rows. All of you have dealt with movies dataset as part of CS220 project. This movies database is slightly different from that particular data set. We only have one director per movie entry, and we don't have actor information, and there could be other differences as well. Before we go ahead with learning about aggregations, we are going to do quick reviews of some queries that you should be able to answer based on the previous lectures information. The first question which I want to answer is, which movie has the highest rating? So I'm going to go ahead and define a common format for my query here, and I'm going to say select something from movies. Movies is going to be the only table, and then I'm also going to say where something, order by something, and then limit something. I'm just going to use this format to answer all of the questions as part of this template notebook file. All right, this question is asking which movie has the highest rating. Rating is given by the rating column. So I'm just going to say we need to order the movies by rating, correct? Because we are interested in the highest rating over here. So I'm going to say rating, order by rating. And then we just want one movie which has the highest rating. So I'm going to say limit one. What do I want to select? Let's say that I want to know the title of the movie and also the rating associated with that particular movie. So let's, sorry, I'll type that again. Never mind. Let's go ahead and run this query. There is a mistake in this query. Let's see if we are able to figure that out. Sounds like we probably got the wrong answer, right? Disaster movie is probably not the movie that you were expecting, and the rating also seems to be pretty low. Recall that the default ordering for order by is ascending order. If you want to get the highest rating, you want the highest number, which means that you want to order by descending order instead, correct? That's so much better. It's so much believable that Dark Knight would be the highest rated movie. Right, let's do one more question here. Which director has made the shortest movie? Give me just 1 second. I am actually going to recreate whatever I had before so that I can keep using this particular format to answer the rest of the questions. All right, so which director made the shortest movie? We want to order by runtime here, correct? And again, we want to limit the number of rows to one row over here. So I'm going to stick with limit 1. And what else do I want to do? I don't have any specific row conditions here, so I'm going to get rid of the where clause. We are interested in knowing the director who made the shortest movie, right? Let's say that I want to look at the director and also the runtime. It looks like I have no idea who this director is. Claude Barras made the shortest movie, which has a runtime of 66 minutes. Right. Let me go through one more interesting question here. Let's do two more. Which three movies had the highest revenue in 2016? Let me go ahead and paste whatever I have in my clipboard here. So I'm interested in highest revenues. So it's likely that I need to order by revenue. And since I'm interested in highest, I need to use the descending order. What else do I want to do? I'm interested in the highest revenues of the movies in 2016, correct? So which means that I need to write a where clause because I want to limit the year based on the value that we see. So I'm going to say where year equal to 2016 over here. Recall that the recommended syntax for comparison in SQL is a single equal to and not a double equal to. Double equal to will also work, but it's recommended that you use a single equal to. We want to limit to 3 movies. What do we want to select here? Let's say that we are interested in looking at the title and the revenue because we are interested in highest revenue movies in 2016. Right. I'm going to go ahead and type that. Looks like these three are the highest revenue movies in 2016. Pretty much I only know about Finding Dory. I'm not a big fan of watching movies. I like animation movies, so I didn't go watch Finding Dory. But other than that, I have absolutely no idea what Rogue One is. Captain America, yes, I'm aware of it, and I've watched maybe one or two movies in that franchise, but not this movie. Right. Let's go through the next question here. The next question is asking which three movies have the highest rating to revenue ratio? What exactly is that? Let's do a select star from movies and let's look at all the columns that we have. Do we have a rating to revenue column? Not really, right? We have a rating column and then we have a revenue column. In SQL, it's very easy to compute new columns by applying certain mathematical expression. Let me show you how you can do that. So I can just compute a new column by saying I want to do rating divided by revenue. That's what our question over here is asking. So let me just go ahead and show you title and rating divided by revenue computation over here. We are just interested in computing this for the three movies. So I'm just going to limit by 3. And for now, I'm just going to get rid of these two clauses over here. Notice that you are getting a brand new column here which says rating by revenue. The name of the column comes from the mathematical expression that you use to compute that particular column. We can give a proper name for a column by using the AS keyword, which is as. So I can just say rating by revenue as ratio. That's so much easier to read over here. Let's go back to the question. It's asking which three movies have the highest rating to revenue ratio. I didn't quite apply the order by over here, so I need to order by ratio and then I need to order by the descending order because we are interested in the highest order, correct? Right, that answers that particular question. I have no idea what these movies here are. Let's wrap up this video here and I'm going to talk about aggregation as part of the next video.